commentary box.
Thanks very much, Steve. I tell you what, James Kellett, it makes it sound easy, doesn't it, taking another win, but he didn't make it easy for himself yesterday. He didn't get pole position. Tom Empson was on pole, so James had some work to do.
Yeah, it was a big shock, wasn't it, really? But yeah, them boys, they're going to go hard at it. And these cars, Richard, so fast round here. The V8 power is just going to be something to behold.
We were rubbing our hands together at the thought. We missed them the first time around earlier on in the year. Why can't we have the Supercup cars? We had some good challenge racing, of course, which was terrific. But now we've got the V8s and the V6s here. And are on board with G55 amateur class leader Ian Duggan. And apparently we have the sound turned down in the cockpit, is that right?
We've had to take the microphones out of the car. Jamie Stanley, who has a lot to do with him, he was telling me he swears quite a lot, so yeah, we've got a bleep button in that car.
Ian Duggan leading the amateurs at the moment. We've got 4 very closely contested classes, and here's how they line up. James Kellett on pole position, having won yesterday's race, then Aston Miller alongside. Tom Empson on row 2 with Darren Leung, who's the top G56 amateur. Then we get into the G55s. Blake Anglish took the win yesterday after a hard battle with Luke Reed for Wolf Motorsport. Colin White's next up from Wes Pearce. So we got 55s ahead of the 56s. Then we got Connor Garlick and James Taylor. Daniel Morris and Ian Duggan, the man we've got the onboard with, he's on row 6. Row 7, Luke Waugh and James Townsend. Mike Brown completing the grid. Reece Summerfield taking a break for Breakout Racing. He's not here, he did qualify yesterday, but I think we'll be back at Silverstone and Brands Hatch. We look forward to seeing Reece back with us. You might remember he was involved in that nasty incident at Alton Park, so it's lovely to see him and his dad in the paddock yesterday, but unable to join the grid today. I had a quick word with James Kellett down in the holding area, which is just adjacent to the commentary shed here, and said to him, James, don't disappear in the distance because otherwise we're not going to show you on camera.
Well, his strength, to be fair, Richard, is just first lap speed as they're all lining up to the grid now. And yeah, first lap, he just seems to get the job done better than anybody else. But I believe in the people behind him, I really do. And I think they'll start to suss it. Yeah,
there's some very good drivers in it. You know, the top 4 in the 56 pros are absolutely class acts. And Kellett, we always know, he's a multi-champion, and we know what a great driver he is. But the grid this year, so many great drivers, right the way down to the 55 AM class. We've got a 56 AM at the back. There's Mike Brown in the 20, had a few issues yesterday, so he's got to come through from the very back of the field. And I applaud what Ginetta have done, mixing them up, because we could have had separate grids for the 55 and 56s, but they've recognised that the two intermingle quite nicely. So we're getting ready for the start of round 13. Hope that's not an ominous number for some of them. Lights go out, bogging down a bit was Aston Miller. Tom Empson up into second, but it's James Kellett that gets away nicely there. Darren Leung up into 3rd place in the 22 car. Then we've got the 55s starting to sniff around Darren as they were in the race yesterday. And hear the roar of the V8, and look at Tom Empson having a go.
Yeah, we said, didn't we? We still believe in those people, not just James Kellett. So yeah, just showing him the nose round the outside. And yeah, Darren Leung in the mix as well, and they're all trying to sort themselves out. It's interesting to see, as you say, all the classes just mixed into one. Difference in aero between the 56s and the 55s, but this is looking super fast. 6.2 litre V8s. Let's go, but we're on board with a 55.
Yeah, this is V6 power in the number 8. Ian Duggan, the class championship leader at the moment, and Duggan busy having a look at the other runners. Ooh. Colin White has a grassy moment.
Oh, Colin, that is a fast place to go off, that is, mate. That's at Noble, that wasn't even a church. And it's a Sunday, and off again, Millar. He's had a nightmare at the start of this, hasn't he? He's been, I mean, he had a nightmare on the start, and then he's just ran wide at church. So easy to do that, so easy to do that. But Kelly under big pressure here, look at this.
Yeah, James Kellett is being shown the nose of the 27 car yesterday. Tom Empson yesterday did get outright pole, but in the race the engine didn't sound quite right. I was watching where the cars are going through now in the chicane. I'll come back to the point I was going to make in a minute. There's Colin.
Wow, what happened with Colin? He was exit stage, left from the apex of Noble. Yeah, Goodwood even, sorry, the next corner. He just come from nowhere, and he must have got crossed up on the entry to Noble, jumps up in the air, and then, yeah, that finished off at Goodwood, and that is a People talk about Church being the scary corner. You hold your breath. The corner before Goodwood is the one. It's a blind little entry and an exit, and it's a nightmare. Ian Duggan, on the other hand, he's full of action. I'd love to hear the expletives in the cockpit at the minute. He's
got Luke Waugh immediately ahead of him as well, and Luke was having a look at the onboard camera when I went down to chat to him in the holding area. He was just having a look at what kit was there. And Luke's up ahead of him at the moment, so Luke Waugh leading the class championship leader.
Yeah, two difference in lines there. You see Luke Waugh run in a lot more speed than our onboard car, and yeah, he just seemed to just gain on the exit and miss out on the entry. But two different ways of driving around there. Bit of curb clipping and more curb. That was a seriously lucky escape. No, it wasn't.
Oh.
Ay, that's a big impact, massive.
Mike Brown, the car that Colin White was closing on there. So it will be a safety car for that, without a doubt. James Kellett, the leader. I was going back to the point about Tom Empson. Red flag's being shown. Understandably, race will be brought to a halt just to make sure that everybody is okay. Going back to the point about Tom Empson, I was watching at the chicane yesterday, Paul, when, as you said about the first lap, with James Kellett being very quick off the line, he was yesterday and got into the lead very early doors, and he pulled away. Empson looking a little bit sharper. Empson's car didn't sound right yesterday. Sounded, I'm not great, I wouldn't know whether it was running on 7 or not, but someone said it was running on 7 cylinders, someone else said it was 6, so V6 not quite as good as a V8.
Okay.
So his was sounding rough. He was in third. Aston Miller was gunning yesterday, but James Kellett was smooth as you like.
Yeah, sometimes the traction control can soft cut the engine,
right,
and it can make it sound like it's misfiring. It just depends how much people are. There's a lot of cars going very fast here into Church Corner. Have they seen the Reds? Have they seen the Reds?
We don't see, to be fair, we don't see the flags, well, but they will see the lights. And from where I was watching yesterday with our assistant director, Mark Cross, we were saying, well, I can't see any yellow flags, but you can see the yellow LEDs as a driver. So we might not be able to see the flags waving, and we've got a very clear red flag on the start line. Yeah, well, that was what I was watching. I apologise to people at home, because I can see a red flag that you can see in the middle of your screen now, out of the comms box. And you can see the red LED there on the marshal's post back of shot. Actually, just go back on board with Ian Duggan, who's got some work to do. Yeah, the car's just on the left there. I mean, let's say what we see here, and that was a big accident. That was a nasty one. Yeah. Let's just hope everybody's okay. You see the LED there. It's one of the smaller LEDs that you've got, just the centre top of shot, but out on circuit, and you might be able to see it from some of the onboards that we have with Ian Duggan, but the LEDs are a lot crisper and a lot sharper for the drivers to see. That's easy enough to see, isn't it, on the left, that red flashing LED. That's something is pretty new, that TOCA and the circuits have brought in. MSV circuits have had it for a while, and others are following suit, so it's yeah, it's good to see. It's pretty visible. I was just concerned about the speed they were still showing out the back there, but it is Thruxton, and going down one gear is only going to take about 10 miles an hour off you, so I'm sure everybody was playing the part in keeping it safe. So yeah, on board with Ian Duggan. You can just see the cars they get lined up, and they make sure that they just take on board what the marshals say, and we'll see what happens in a short while. They will. Talking of a short while, probably a good opportunity to grab yourselves a tea and a bicky. So we're going to take a couple of moments away as we're under red flag conditions here. Please stay with us and rejoin us for the restart of the Ginetta GT4 Supercup. Welcome back to Thruxton. Sadly, red flag conditions here. Early incident in round 13 of the Miller's Oils Ginetta GT4 Supercup. The car's on the grid at the moment, or dummy grid, hoping that we might get a restart, but we're just waiting for the attendees of the two drivers involved in the incident to deal with that. Obviously, safety absolutely paramount for the drivers involved in the incident before this, first of all. But so much effort going into preparing these cars ready for race weekends. I was asked to put a thank you out from Wolf Motorsport, and it looks like the 8 car being pushed back into the garage. Yep, so just the end of the pit lane there, so it's going into the garage. I think that could be curtains for the race. That's Ian Duggan with our onboard going in. But yeah, the Wolf Motorsport team, I know, wanted me to say a big thank you to everyone that got involved. I think Dan Morris lent them a front end at Snet. That was something we didn't know about. Colin White's team had lent Wolf Motorsport their welding gear to get that car back out, and he was vying for a win yesterday, was Luke Reed. So a big thank you to everybody in the paddock. Apparently the currency of payment was beer, which is always popular.
That's the usual, that's the standard thing, isn't it, for this grid? But yeah, I don't know if they're pushing these cars off the grid. That was just an isolated Ian Duggan getting pushed off the grid.
Very possibly he might have had a problem in the first couple of laps. Now let's talk about what's going on down the grid. James Townsend is down there with Louise Goodman.
Yeah, he is indeed. The safety and medical team obviously looking after the drivers involved of that incident. We will be in touch with them, so as soon as we've got any information, we will bring that to you. But in the meantime, I thought it would be appropriate to grab a word with James Townsend, because you were following that incident, so had a bird's eye view, didn't you?
Yeah, it was quite a nasty one by all accounts. Colin and I were next to each other going through church. Just let him pull ahead. Obviously, he's a much faster car in the 56, and as we came out of the corner, Mike unfortunately was just on the grass on the outside. I think caught it and just turned him a little bit, and he shot across in front, and Colin was trying his best to avoid it, and the more he tried to avoid it, the more Mike was coming towards him, unfortunately. So beyond that, I think he collected the barrier, and unfortunately he's gone over a couple of times. But yeah, really nasty. I hope Colin's all right.
Yeah, as do we all. Just how, I mean, that's a fast part of the circuit, isn't it? How fast are you going there?
Yeah, it's the fastest corner on the circuit by a long way. So you're probably coming around there at 140, 145 and coming out the other side at 155. So yeah, Colin would have been doing that kind of speed. He did check up a little bit because we didn't quite know where Mike was going, but even still, he's hit him at a good 130, 140, I would say.
All the drivers on this grid, and in fact all of the grids throughout the BTCC, you know each other, your mates, you're racing against each other sort of, you know, weekend in, weekend out. How does it impact the rest of you when there is an incident like this?
It's always a concern. The grid's a good size, but everybody does know each other. We're in all the briefings together, and we've raced together for even just this year or several years before. So you do care about people. You want to make sure they're all right, and yeah, it has an impact, but you've got to get on with it, and we're here to do it. We know the risks, and it's yeah, head down, visor on, and we go again.
Thanks, James. Good luck in when the race resumes. Back to you guys.
Thanks very much. It's interesting to get James' perspective on it. For those of you who don't know, he's an Ipswich lad, so the last meeting was technically his home race at Snetton, 36 years of age. Third in the G55 amateur class, and the camaraderie thing, you know, absolutely what you get in the paddock when you go around, and the early part of a Saturday for me is having the wonderful opportunity to go around the paddock and talk to the drivers and teams. You never get around all of them because you end up having a good chat and you can't get away from some of them, but yeah, it is a really great paddock. And as I said, with Wolf Motorsport, everybody chipped in to get them on the grid, and that guy's leading the championship. That says a huge amount. It
does, and you know, they're competitors, you know, first and foremost, but actually when you look at it, it's a level thing where they're actually friends as well. And I've got to say, Richard, I do back you up with that, mate, because, you know, a lot of these drivers are from things you've commentated on previously, so you know them, you know, quite well. I know them pretty well, but I will say that it is probably the most family-orientated paddock in all of the support series and British touring car stuff that we do.
A lot of people call it the Ginetta family, and it kind of is that, you know, whether you're working on the Ginetta scholarship. That's coming up, by the way, in the autumn half term, if you fancy getting your kids out racing. So a lovely thing to be able to do, even just to do it for fun. The Ginetta scholarship is a great event to come into, and you know, you can work your way through into Supercup. But they talk about the Ginetta, and it is a family, Ginetta, very much. Yeah, exactly, and it is great. See that lady there with the ginger hair just in the bottom of the screen? Everybody was asking about who's done my hair today. Well, Shari. Sorry, did she do it for you today? Shari to her mates. She sorted the hairspray out. If you've looked on my Instagram today, so thanks to Shari and the makeup team for sorting us out. We can go down again on the grid to Louise.
Yeah, the marshals just looking at maybe moving the drivers back into position, because the likes of James Kellett, who was at the front of the race, kind of, you've done an extra lap, haven't you? So you must have driven past the incident. I mean, I was just talking with one of the other drivers who was looking on. That's a nasty place to have an accident, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I feel really bad for Colin and the other driver that's involved. I really hope they're okay. So it's not a place you want to be going off. On the exit of church, we're doing around 140, 150 miles per hour, especially at the bit where they've actually collided. So I wasn't really able to see, but I hope everyone's okay.
Yeah, as do we all. Let's talk about your race, or the brief bit of the race that we had, because Tom, he was putting you under a bit of pressure there, wasn't he?
Yeah, Tom put some pressure on the first couple corners. I was able to get a bit of a gap on him, and obviously this track's notorious for when you're behind someone to make the front end understeer. So hopefully, if I can keep that gap, we should be nice and safe from there on.
What's it like out there today? Because we were obviously talking, rightly so, about the fact that Ginetta was incredibly hot, but it's actually quite warm here today, and just up against your car, there's a massive amount of heat coming out of this car onto my bare legs here. It's hot, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very hot today. In these cars especially, we are suffering with heat, but Ginetta have been really good at applying new updates to keep the drivers as cool as possible. And it really can tell. We've got like AC units in the car to help the driver keep cool, because honestly, Snetterton was so hot, it was pretty much melting the sole on my boot. So so far so good. Hopefully we can just keep in the lead and pull this win home.
Get you with your AC units, right? If I can get myself up, let's just walk back. Because oh no, I was going to say he's right. Oh, there's Tom over on the. Let's go and have a word with him over on the pit wall. Tom, we were just having a word with James and talking about the fact you were right up on him for that one, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, we had a problem yesterday, which is why we weren't as fast. We've shown the pace. It's just struggled to overtake around here. Just following is you drop back quite a bit through the fast corners. We got a good start, and I tried going around the outside of turn 2, but it just wasn't happening.
How much of a risk is that, or do you not even think about that in the moment? You're just like, there's a small gap, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, there's a small gap, we've got to go for it. But you've got to realise on the exit, like, how much space he'll leave, if any, really. But yeah, just got to maintain it.
Okay, well, best of luck when the race gets going in. I'll let you get back and chat with the guys. Paul and Richard, back over to you.
Thanks very much, Louise. Great to hear from Tom. He was fastest in qualifying yesterday. Took that race win last racing weekend we had at Snetterton, so he's doing a very good job. I think we're being told it might be time just to grab another quick break whilst the race officials sort out what's going on, and we'll be back with you in just a couple of moments. Please stay with us.
Here at Thruxton, we're in the middle of one of those anxious periods that sadly you do regularly get at race meetings. There's been a big crash on lap 3 of the Ginetta GT4 Supercup, and all we can do is let the marshals deal with the situation. 2 drivers involved, and we await news. And for the rest of the paddock and for everybody else involved, there's not much more you can do but sit and hope.
No, unfortunately, we get no real updates, quite rightly, until we know what the situation is with the drivers. But obviously, thoughts in the paddock are always with the drivers concerned, and hoping for good news to come quickly. The system of reporting it back through the TOCA officials is very quick, so hopefully we'll know sooner that there's good news to come.
Yeah, and we gave a bit of praise to the marshals at the start of the programme, especially those marshals out at church as well, and they right now will be doing a fantastic job.
No question, they'll be on it, taking great care, of course. The other thing is whether there's any sort of barrier damage which takes time to repair. That may be part of the delay as well, but yeah, the marshals will be absolutely on it, doing the best possible job.